OpenClaw v2026.5.12 dropped yesterday with 1,179 commits since the previous release. That is a lot of work landing in one window. The headline moves. WhatsApp, Slack, Bedrock, and Anthropic Vertex moved out of the core runtime. Telegram got a proper isolated polling worker, per sender tool policies landed. The session transcript memory leak that bit long-running sessions is finally fixed. And a wide security hardening pass landed across the entire stack from gateway down to sandbox. Quick stats. 372,000 stars, 77,100 forks. OpenClaw is one of the largest open-source agent platforms in the wild, with 1,979 commits between v2026.5.11 and v2026.5.12, which is a lot of work for one release window. Released May 14th, contributors include 200-plus community members across this release alone, a real maintainer base, not a one-person show. The first big architectural move. WhatsApp, Slack, Amazon Bedrock, and Anthropic Vertex are no longer baked into the core runtime. They are modular dependencies you install when you need them. The motivation is straightforward. A default OpenClaw install no longer carries the dependencies for every channel and every model provider in the universe. You pay for what you use. Cold start is faster, disk footprint is smaller, and when a channel breaks, it cannot drag the rest of the runtime down with it. The plugin SDK also moved some provider-specific helpers out of the public surface to keep the core API focused. If you only deploy OpenClaw on Slack, you no longer carry the WhatsApp dependency tree. If you only use the Anthropic API, the Bedrock and Vertex adapters stay uninstalled. This is the cleanest architectural decision OpenClaw has shipped in a while. It acknowledges that nobody actually uses every integration the project supports. Telegram has been the bumpiest channel for a while. This release fixes it. Polling moved to an isolated worker, so a stuck Telegram poll cannot freeze the rest of the runtime. The local spool is now durable. Messages survive restarts. HTML formatting is preserved through scheduled delivery, so styled replies arrive looking the way the model intended. Group media handling is safer. The previous code had edge cases that lost messages on multi-attachment posts. Legacy long poll offsets are handled. Polling stalls are resolved. If you run an OpenClaw agent on Telegram, this release alone is worth the upgrade. Security upgrade. OpenClaw already supported channel scope tool policies. You could say this Slack workspace can only use these tools. This release adds per sender keys, which means you can restrict dangerous tools by request or identity. If your team agent is exposed to a Telegram group, you can now say the operator gets full tool access, the support engineer gets read-only, and everyone else gets denied at the runtime layer. The policy enforcement is in the gateway, not the model, which means it holds even if the model tries to call a tool it should not. This closes a class of social engineering attacks, where a member of a shared channel asks the agent to do something destructive on behalf of a privileged user. The agent now resolves the policy against the actual sender identity, not the channel context, and refuses if the sender does not have the scope. Hidden in the bug fixes, the one that matters for anyone running OpenClaw on a long-lived server. Session transcripts used to read entire transcript files into memory for idempotency lookups. On a long-running session, that meant the resident set grew by 252 MB. In this release, the transcript code uses streaming helpers instead. RSS growth dropped to 27 MB, roughly a 10 times improvement on the leakiest part of long session memory. If you have been seeing OpenClaw memory climb over days, restart after upgrading and watch the curve flatten. This is the kind of fix that does not show up in feature changelogs, but does show up in your dashboards a week later. The pattern is also general. Whole file reads inside hot paths are a classic source of slow leaks. Worth grepping your own code for after watching what a single line change did for the OpenClaw RSS curve. 2 new commands worth knowing about. OpenClaw cron get takes a job ID and prints the full job state. Schedule, last run, next run, task definition. No more grepping through internal state files. The second one, OpenClaw channel status, now accepts -- channel for a single channel view. Useful when you want to know if Telegram is up without seeing the entire fleet. Codex integration got tightened. The app server now owns workspace tools. No more configurable dynamic tools profile, which means fewer ways the harness and the user can disagree about what tools exist. MCP server projection from user config means the MCP servers you declare in your OpenClaw config are projected into Codex automatically. Plugin approval has native defaults, so you do not have to write boilerplate to allow a known good plugin. Auth profile-backed media tools mean codecs can use the same auth profile your other channels use for image and video handling. Context engine threads now rotate on incompatibility rather than silently failing, which is the right behavior. An obvious failure is always better than a quiet one. The Codex app server itself is also being treated as a proper subsystem with its own lifecycle, not a leaky abstraction over the user's environment, and that posture is what makes the rest of the changes tractable. ACP, the Agent Coordination Protocol layer, picked up 2 upgrades. First, an ACP.fallbacks config that activates backup runtime backends when the primary backend is unavailable. This is the kind of feature that does not matter until your primary backend goes down, and then it matters a lot. Second, session lineage metadata is now exposed for sub-agent graph rendering. If you build dashboards on top of OpenClaw, you can now draw the actual tree of sub-agent invocations that produced a given output, with the timing and the responsible agent at each node. Here's the release page on GitHub, full changelog, all the contributors, the breaking changes section, and the upgrade notes. Mobile layout is solid. The release notes are long, but the in-page navigation makes finding a specific subsystem fast. Last note, the security hardening in this release is the kind of work that does not get a flashy headline, but matters more than the features. Exec approval command validation, inline shell wrapper, payload matching, sandbox browser, CDP relay authentication, MCP redirect header scrubbing, Windows Sandbox blocked user profile routes, trusted proxy validation, device pairing and setup code requirements. Each one of these closes a specific attack path that an unprivileged input could have exploited. If you run OpenClaw against untrusted users, and most channel deployments do, this release tightens the threat model substantially. If you run OpenClaw on a long-lived server, upgrade for the memory fix alone. If you are on Telegram, upgrade for the polling rework. If you expose tools to multi-tenant channels, upgrade for the per-sender policies. And if you do not run any of those, upgrade anyway for the security pass. The threat model around agent platforms is moving fast, and this release closes several paths that were open in the previous version. Release link is in the description.